motion alert from his doorbell camera. At first, he didn't think much of it. He lived alone in a quiet neighborhood where nothing ever happened. Most of the time, the motion alerts were just raccoons, stray cats, or the wind moving leaves across the porch. Still half asleep, Daniel grabbed his phone and opened the camera app. The live feed showed his empty front porch. The streetlight across the road flickered faintly. Dry leaves rolled across the steps. Nothing unusual. Daniel sighed, locked his phone, and rolled over in bed. But about 10 seconds later, his phone buzzed again. Another motion alert. Now he was annoyed. Daniel opened the camera feed again, expecting to see another animal wandering around the porch. But this time, something felt different. At the very bottom corner of the frame, something moved. It was quick, almost too quick to notice. Daniel frowned and rewound the footage. He watched carefully. The porch, the steps, the driveway. Everything looked normal. And then suddenly, a pale hand slowly slid into the frame. Not walking, not reaching, crawling. The fingers dragged slowly across the concrete like someone was pulling themselves across the ground. Daniel immediately sat up in bed. What the hell? He replayed the clip again. The same thing happened. A hand crawled across the porch and then disappeared out of frame, but there was no body attached to it, just the hand. Daniel felt a chill crawl up his spine. He stared at the phone for a moment, trying to convince himself it was just a glitch, maybe a strange shadow or some weird camera distortion. But the longer he looked at the screen, the more uneasy he felt. Finally, he threw on a hoodie and got out of bed. If someone was outside his house, he wanted to know who it was. The hallway downstairs was completely dark as Daniel made his way toward the front door. Each step creaked quietly under his feet. The only light came from his phone screen. When he reached the door, he paused, because he heard something. A faint sound, scratching. It was coming from the other side of the door. Daniel froze. He leaned closer, listening. The scratching continued, slow, soft, almost like fingernails dragging across wood. "Hello?" Daniel called out. The scratching stopped immediately. Silence filled the hallway. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then suddenly, the doorbell rang. The sound echoed through the quiet house. Daniel jumped back. Nobody rings a doorbell at 2 a.m. He slowly stepped toward the peephole, but before he could look through it, his phone buzzed again. Another motion alert. Daniel looked down and opened the doorbell camera feed. Someone was standing directly outside the door, but they were too close to the camera. All Daniel could see was pale skin and dark, messy hair hanging down over their face. The person stood completely still. Daniel swallowed nervously. "What do you want?" he asked through the door. The person didn't respond. They didn't move. For several long seconds, they simply stood there. Then slowly, they leaned back just enough for the camera to capture their face. Daniel's heart nearly stopped, because the person standing outside his front door was him. Same face, same hoodie, same hair, standing there, staring into the camera. Daniel dropped the phone in shock. "No, that's not possible!" His hands trembled as he picked the phone back up. The camera feed was still on. The copy of him was still standing there, watching. Then slowly, the thing outside smiled. But it wasn't a normal smile. It stretched too wide, too slow. The copy leaned closer to the camera and whispered something. The doorbell camera didn't record audio, but Daniel could read the lips clearly. The words were simple. "Let me in." Daniel stumbled backwards away from the door. His breathing became fast and shallow, and then he heard it again, the scratching sound. But this time, it wasn't coming from outside anymore. It was coming from inside the house, from the hallway behind him. Daniel slowly turned around. The hallway was pitch black, completely silent. For a moment, nothing moved. Then his phone buzzed again. Another motion alert. Daniel looked down at the notification, but this time it said something different. "Motion detected inside your home." Daniel slowly opened the indoor camera feed. The screen showed the hallway he was standing in, from the opposite angle, and at the far end of that hallway, standing in the darkness, was the same thing that had been outside. His face, his body, his smile, watching him. The copy began slowly walking toward him. The video feed froze. Daniel's phone slipped from his hands and hit the floor. The screen went black. When police arrived later that morning, they found the house completely locked. There were no signs of forced entry. No broken windows, no open doors, nothing stolen. But every camera in the house had stopped recording at exactly 2:17 a.m. The last frame from the hallway camera showed something investigators couldn't explain. 2 figures standing in the hallway. One of them was Daniel, frozen in place, holding his phone. And the other one was much closer to the